Welcome, everybody. We are back for another episode of Más que un podcast. It's John and Pablo. We are boogaless today. He's out having fun on the beach somewhere, and we're going to be here discussing what has changed since Xavi's announcement. We've had two matches, Osasuna, Alaves. So has anything changed? We'll be discussing that. We'll talk about the recent results in the Madrid derby. Does it open up the door for Barcelona in La Liga? We'll get into the Vitor Roque headlines, the goals, and the sending off. We'll talk Barca injuries. We'll talk some changes around Barcelona's lineup. And then we've got a comment from one of our listeners that we're going to respond to. We've got Harry on the line. He's asking us, what are three things that we would change if we were named as Barcelona managers? So we're going to get into all that and more. Before I turn things over to Pablo, drop a like, share, subscribe, give us 5-star rating, all the things that support the channel. It really does help us out, so we're counting on you to go ahead and drop a like, share it. Like I said, support the channel, support the pod. With that out of the way, Pablo, how we doing, sir? How we feeling?
Yeah, not doing too badly. Decent weekend, I suppose, when you consider it, actually, for Barcelona. Sort of a weird period, I think we're in. And obviously, I'll get out of the way. Shame that Bulgar's not here. Of course, we miss him, but
Yes,
he can enjoy
indeed.
himself.
Yes, indeed.
He can enjoy himself on the beach. Very jealous of the weather, but yeah, I think a bit of a weird time because we're in a bit of an odd spot. I feel personally in La Liga where it's almost a given that we're not going to win it. So even wins feel a little bit weird. But it's almost like we still do need to win because we don't want to drop out of top four and we still want the Super Cup spot. So it's almost like we're playing for something, but we're playing for nothing. So I feel like we're in a bit of an odd period, and obviously with Xavi leaving, it's a bit of a weird time. I think I was just saying to you, off air, that I think the last 4 or 5 weeks have sort of been quite mental for Barca. There's been a lot to talk about. It's all been hyping up, and it's like, can Barca deliver this season? Go out the cup, lose the Super Cup, then Xavi goes, then the league probably gets lost. Is the Champions League down the drain? All the injuries, and probably this week, since he's decided to leave, obviously we beat Osasuna, beat Alaves, games we'd expect to win. Just felt a little more calm, but yeah, I suppose the big question you opened up with there was has anything changed? And I think we sort of maybe touched on it at the end of last podcast when we were saying right, is there going to be a big revolution here? I think I said I don't really expect there to be. I think that's probably what it's been so far, to be honest. I think a lot of people on social media probably thought Barcelona were going to go out like gladiators, all for Xavi, leave it on the line, win every game 4-0. And it was just but for me, Osasuna and Alaves, from what I saw both those games, were, pretty similar to what we've seen for the season, in my opinion. Pretty goddamn similar. I thought Osasuna first half, again, pretty stale. Alaves first half, pretty stale. Second half improved a little bit. Some good glimpses of Vitor Roque's goals, but yeah, it wasn't vintage, it wasn't incredible. I suppose we've only conceded 1 goal in 2 of the games. You'll take that with how poor we've been in the back this season. But yeah, I don't think it was incredible. I don't know what you thought about it, but I just thought pretty standard Barca. Just good that we got the 6 points.
Yeah, no different for me other than more injuries, right? I would say, well, okay, let me back up. 2 players that I think we are seeing a difference in, but it's only because of the experience that they're getting, Lamine Yamal and Vitor Roque.
Yeah.
We'll get to Vitor, here in a minute. But I think for me, those 2 players in the last 2 matches we're seeing hit their stride. In maybe 2 episodes ago, I said I'm not worried about Vitor, but we are seeing that he's going to need a little bit more time. Fast forward a couple weeks, I think he's now at the point where we can say, okay, he's showing signs. He's going to be the one, right? I think come next season, there might be a real competition for who that starting forward is between Vitor and Lewandowski. And then on the right-hand side, with Ferran being injured, with Rafinha being injured, it's opened up the door for Lamine Yamal, and all of a sudden, he's the brightest star for Barcelona. Am I right? He's opening things up on that right-hand side. If we could just get the balance now on the left, I think Barcelona are looking a little bit stronger. But overall, was there a massive response? Did we see a change in attitude? Did we see a change in tactics or style or any? No, none of that changed. And here, did we expect it to? I don't think so. If it was, I think there'd have to be some sort of controversy, right? If in these last 2 matches, we all of a sudden see this beautiful Barcelona, you got to say, what were these players doing? Oh, no, we love Xavi. We just won't play for him, right? So thankfully, that's not the case. So
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
Barcelona's biggest problem right now is the injuries. With the most
Mm.
recent results, with Atletico getting that late equalizer against Real Madrid, 8 points down from Real, 6 points down for Girona. We do have both of them still on the schedule. I mean,
Yeah.
is it unreasonable to think? For me right now, I'm looking at second place as achievable. I was thinking
Yeah.
Supercopa was gone for us. I'm thinking second place is achievable. I'm not gonna rile people up saying that we can win the title, but I think second place maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think on the players playing for Xavi point, I think again I said that on last podcast that there are a lot of people saying that the players aren't playing for Xavi. That I think they are, and I think that's what we've seen in the last two games. That they always were. That's just the level we've been at this season. Whether that is a managerial fault or the players' fault, and the manager's obviously decided to walk, so he's taken responsibility for that. But it hasn't been good enough, and that's not just going to change overnight. Few points made earlier on some of the younger players that absolutely, I think Lamine Yamal, who I thought, like I said, maybe in November, December was sort of just losing his way a little bit, and maybe as was expected at 16.
Mm-hmm.
What a player he looks, by the way, now. I
Cooking,
mean,
he's cooking.
that is ridiculous at 16 years old. I mean, I think towards the end of the game, he's played how many straight 90 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and produced what he did for, towards the end of the roulette. He's just
I
incredible
think
when he went off.
he's second behind Gundogan for most minutes played, or he's first. Those two are the top two for most minutes played for Barca, Gundogan and Lamine.
I mean, that is insane, isn't it, really? So, yeah, I mean, obviously we've got to be careful with him, but we've got a lot of players out. Rafinha's coming back now, thankfully. To Stegen's coming back now, which is massive too.
That's
Both of
so
them
big.
should
That's
be in the
so
squad.
big for Barca.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, that is huge. So Stegen comes back. I thought Iñaki Peña was actually okay against Alaves, but hey, we need to Stegen back because Iñaki Peña has been a big reason why we've been faltering in the
Mhm.
last few months. So getting him back is huge. Rafinha back is big, mainly also to give Lamine a bit of respite on the right wing. But Lamine has stepped up incredibly for me when I probably wasn't expecting it, actually, but he looks just a joke of a player.
Yep.
Koubarsi is another one. How good does he look at the back? So
Yes,
assured.
indeed. Yes,
Brilliant,
indeed.
really brilliant. I know he had a bit of a lapse in the first 30 seconds against Alaves where I thought that's a
Lucky that
stonewall.
there was an offside
I
there for sure.
I
That
thought
was gonna be a penalty. Yeah.
I was like, I tuned in and I was like, we've just conceded a penalty in 30 seconds. Like, we cannot get out of our misery, but that was a clear foul, but it was offside, thankfully. But
There's
yeah, I
something
mean,
real quick, Paulo. There's something about
yeah,
you know what the yips are.
no,
So it's an American phrase. It doesn't come around very often. It's a little bit old school, but getting the yips is when you can't get out of your head, and it causes you to fail at whatever the simple thing is, right? Like
yes.
in this case, Barcelona have something about the first minute of these matches where they got the yips, where it's just they can't get out of their heads. It's almost like they expect something to go wrong now,
Yeah.
and so it does almost every time. It's just
Oh, yeah.
nail biting for the first minute. I don't understand it.
Yeah. You're right. There we go. We've got the yips in the first minute of game. Absolutely. Yeah. You see it again. It's just like balls in behind the fence. I'm pretty certain they did it the minute after as well, and they got in that time. And then I think Araujo cleared it behind for a corner. I was like, genuinely, what are we doing? Like, we're
Mm-hmm.
just like half asleep, and it's so easy to break us down in those moments. But we recovered and we were okay against Alaves. Vitor Roque is brilliant news because I think you're probably rightly a bit worried about him. I was a little bit worried about him because I think I was probably expecting him to have played a little bit more by now. He hasn't started a game yet for Barcelona, which I think when you consider the games we've had, Copa games, some against third and fourth tier sides, Lewandowski's not firing,
Yep.
injuries all over the attack. You would have thought he would have started. So that would signify that it hasn't been a good start. And he hasn't really got many minutes. Been very broken his playing time so far.
Yeah.
But to get those two goals, oh, how brilliant is that? How important is that for his career, honestly? Because their strikers' goals are the goals he was scoring in Brazil
Yeah.
for Atletico Paranaense. So that is brilliant news. So really happy for Vitor Roque can kick on now. We'll get to the decision later because I'm sure we'll talk about that. You asked me about the title race. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think there is a title race. I don't think we can win La Liga, which is frustrating because I don't think Real Madrid are as good as people potentially make them out to be or how far away they are from us. I really don't. I
Think
mean,
about
consider the
how
fact.
many points Real Madrid got because of those late
I know.
goals, scrappy goals from Jude
No,
Bellingham in the beginning of the season. And they
I
probably got
know.
themselves 12 points that they wouldn't have had otherwise if
I
not
know.
for all credit to Jude Bellingham. Right
Yeah.
place, right time. You got to have the attitude, you got to have the commitment, you got to be able to finish, all those things. but they were scrappy goals, right? He's not
Yeah,
he's
they
not
were.
you
Yeah.
know it's not beautiful build up, and we're seeing it right. So to your point, it's not the best Real Madrid we've seen this year.
Oh, I mean, they've scrapped so many late points. I mean, tonight they lost it. Well, didn't lose it. They drew it late, obviously, which sort of felt like a bit of like payback finally. But
Yeah,
I don't think it will necessarily, hinder their title challenges too much. I think they'll be fine, to be honest with you.
yeah,
But they're not invincible. But you're right, at the beginning of the season, all those points. I mean, even recently, 1-0 against Mallorca, Rudiger header, the 1-0 against Alaves when they played half the game with 10 men, Lucas Vazquez header in the last minute when the Alaves coach lost his mind. One of the clips of the season, by the way, if anyone hasn't
yeah,
seen it.
yeah.
Sorry, I saw him on the sidelines on Saturday in our game, and I just thought, there he is. What a bloke. Oh, God. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the title race, I do think we can get second. Feel sorry for Girona. They had a goal ruled out on Saturday, for an offside that was about a minute before the play, and several
Mhm.
phases of play. Real Sociedad had cleared the ball about 4 times before they eventually scored, but they brought it all the way back. So I thought that was harsh. And then now they've got their manager suspended and 2 players suspended: Blind and Angel Herrera, and Michel, the coach, suspended for the game against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu as well. Won't it be next week? So
Yeah,
I think they'll probably lose that, and then that'll probably bury them in the title race. But I suppose they hang on by a thread because of that late Atleti goal in a way. But I
yeah,
think we can push them for top two. Maybe unfortunately, because that means Real Madrid will run away with it. But yeah, we could have been so much closer. You talk about Real getting a lot of scrappy points. We've lost a lot of stupid points. Villarreal at home has to be 3 points the other day. If it was, we would have been 5 points behind Real now. But you look all over our season. I mean, it's just been plagued with points given away at
yeah,
ridiculous moments, whether it's because of refereeing decisions. I look at the Getafe on match week 1, which was a refereeing decided game, as was Granada away when they disallowed João Felix, winner for Ferran Torres being involved with play, wasn't. And there's also been some of just, it's our own fault that we've just been so comical and given away ridiculous points. And football's margins, Real Madrid are the kings of margins. And despite their draw tonight, I think they'll run away with it.
yeah. Yeah, it is going to be interesting. I mean, like you said, like it feels like there's a bit of a lull around Barcelona right now with
Yeah.
kind of all the drama is kind of settling. Like it really peaked there for a minute with
Yeah.
Xavi saying that's enough, and things have kind of settled now. And if you look at who we're playing in La Liga fixture wise, it's not the top six. It's more mid and lower table. It's really not until March and then what is it, mid-April that we get the second El Clasico of the year. So
Hmm.
Barcelona have a couple of months here to patch things up, smooth things over, get themselves lined up. Because I'm still worried. I mean, Araujo's barely hanging on. João Cancelo's barely hanging on. Fitness wise, we got to get some of these players back. So Ter Stegen's about to come back. I think Ferran might be back in training. Did I see that?
It's here.
I think either him or Felix. I'm maybe listeners let me know in the comments. It was Ter Stegen and somebody else
Oh,
that I saw
Rafinha,
on
surely,
Twitter
no?
today. Was it Felix?
No, Rafinha, no?
Rafinha, that's who it was. That's who it was. Yes, that is
Yeah.
accurate. Rafinha. Okay, so Rafinha then. What happens to Rafinha now? Because that's Lamin's right wing.
I know. Yeah.
That I
Yeah.
mean, a month ago it was still questionable. Today that's Lamin's.
I
So
know.
do we try Rafinha on the left? Do we try Rafinha as one of the interior attacking kind of mids that we've seen? Maybe playing
Yeah.
underneath a Lewandowski.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I like him centrally because he's got a good strike on him as well, and he's a creative player. It's not a bad shout at all, actually. I didn't really think about using them both. I initially just thought that Rafinha's main role now will be to give rest to Lamine. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe bench Lamine even when he doesn't deserve to be rested, just for the benefit of his 16-year-old legs, and just to give him a bit of breathing space,
Yeah,
I'm not sure is it Celta Vigo? I think we're playing before Napoli. Maybe Rafinha starts Celta Vigo, for example, that sort of thing.
yeah,
But yeah, that's not a bad shout at all. It's not like we're blessed with options right now with all the injuries we've got. So use maybe as that fourth midfielder. You could do Rafinha, De Jong, Gundogan, Pedri potentially, and then you got Lamine and Lewandowski up front. It's not a bad shout at all. That could be demoed maybe against Granada actually, who of course are a 19th and will just sit in against us. So we'll see. Um, but obviously, he tried the Christensen experiment on the weekend. But yeah, Rafinha coming back to stay coming back is big as well, obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking earlier, if the season ended today and everybody's
Mm.
healthy, what's our what's our depth chart looking like up front? I'm going for me. I guess I got Lamine starting on the right. Still Lewandowski at striker, but by a hair now. By a hair. And tell me it, in a month, if Vitor keeps going this way, I don't know if I'm making that same decision. So let's say Vitor and Lewandowski are a close 1 and 2. Left hand side, I don't think João Felix has done enough for Barcelona to shell out the cash. So I'm looking at Ferran on the left.
Yeah, it's got to be now.
And I'm dreaming pipe dreams that Ansu Fati is going to have an amazing last 3 months of the season and come back to us, but I don't know about that. So I think the missing piece right now is what can we do on that left wing, or do we go? I don't know. That's the missing piece. Who's going to play that left wing?
It is, yeah. And it might come in when we talk about Harry's question later in terms of what the new manager will do with this squad and what we would do.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be necessarily a bad idea. I know we desperately need a left wing, but don't think it would be a bad idea to bring Ansel back, maybe. That's zero cost for us.
Yeah.
And you've got Ansel and Ferran. Rafinha and Lamine can also technically play on the left. And then you buy a DM. I'm sort of giving away my answer there, but it wouldn't be a bad shout.
Yeah, well,
if you want to spare the funds for some positions that might need dealing with beforehand. But yeah, you're right. In terms of the next few months in La Liga, I mean, look, I'm under no illusions. I don't think we can win it, actually, just with the way things are going. But there's a small but, and that is that even if Barcelona just keep ticking over in games, let's say Real Madrid draw against Girona next week and we win again, then we'd be what? We go to 6 points behind them. If we can keep within about 5, 6, even 4 points maybe behind them going into the Clásico, then it just opens things up. Then if we win the Clásico, we go to within, let's say, 1, 2 points of them, and then it's sort of like pressures on. It doesn't have to be a million miles away, is my point. We just need to stay within 5, 6 points of them going into that Clásico, because then we can cut that in half at the Bernabeu, which we've done before, and I know we can do again. So,
yeah, oof, it's gonna be.
Yeah,
tough.
I don't want to dream out of La Liga really, because I'm almost 97% sure like it's sort of finished, and maybe the Clásico will mean nothing, to be honest with you. By the time April comes around, there's also a high chance that Real will be 10 points clear. There is that possibility, but I'm saying if we do stick within 5, 6 points, then it gives us a chance to go into that Clásico and say, right, we can at least make a fight out of these last 8 match weeks or whatever it'll be at then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after El Clasico, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6 matches. Oof. After El Clasico. It'd be tight. It'd be real tight.
One. Yeah.
We have like the middle of March. We have to play well through the middle of March. It's the Napoli ties and it's Atletico Madrid. If we don't play well through the middle of March, we will have no momentum, nothing to play for whatsoever by the time we get to Real Madrid. Because then we got Real on April 21st. We got Girona on May 5th. And then we got to close out the season.
Yeah. I mean, that's also the worrying thing. We've got to go to the Metropolitano. We've got to go to Montilivi in Girona. And then we've got to go to the Bernabeu as well. And if we want to have any chance of winning La Liga, we've got to get 9 points from that with this current Barcelona team who've been an absolute wreck this season.
Yeah.
It's almost like I almost want to tell people to stop dreaming about La Liga, because I feel like I've enticed people there by trying to make them dream about the title, when in fact it's not really on.
No, I think realistic is shooting for second place.
Yeah.
I think Girona is far more likely to slip up than Real Madrid.
Yes.
And we do still have them on the calendar. So I think they focused, no more slip ups. Second place gets us back in the Supercopa. If nothing else, that is a financial impact for Barcelona, getting to play in the Supercopa. So I think maybe that's the goal there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before we get too far away from it, let's circle back to Vitor Roque. Great goals. What is your take on his sending off? It was a second yellow. What happened from your perception?
He's got to be careful what I say on these. He comes to me knowing what I'm going to do.
Paulo's going to get himself fined by La Liga here.
I mean, it's that referee again, Same one in the Supercopa final, who I said looked like he had a little vendetta when he was screaming at Araujo's face after the penalty. It's how they were brought up,
Yeah.
It's who they were brought up supporting. They grew up hating Barcelona. That is a fact of it.
Yep.
That's difficult to escape from and that won't be admitted, on a global stage or on a national stage. But why he's gone to, there's something ingrained in the back of his head that he's seen a 50-50 and he's gone to give a foul to for an action from the Barcelona player, not the Alaves one, which was a reckless challenge, by the way. And Pedri got dragged back in the build up to that move anyway. So,
Yep.
just because the entire race is almost done now, I'm almost like over it. I was more into it like at the time. It's just another shocker decision.
Yep.
Absolutely no excuse for it. And we're going to appeal it. They won't overturn this in any way. I promise you that, by the way. And it's just a shame for Vitor, to be honest, more than anything. It's another shocking decision by a referee who's got a Real Madrid past against Barcelona. The club his family would have grown up hating. I can't deal with it. And for Vitor Roque on a personal level, scores 2 goals. Then he's playing and probably starting against 19th place at home at Montjuic.
Yep.
Big game, and no,
Yep.
he won't be there. For me, that's sad.
Yeah. I've never seen a player go in for a lunging challenge, studs up, when the other player didn't leave his feet, didn't slide in, and the player who went in studs up receives the foul. I've never seen it in all my years of watching football at any level.
Yeah.
Even the old men playing rec indoor soccer on Friday nights, and I've never seen it. I don't understand. And then did you see the Instagram post from, I forget the defender's name even, but he posts on Instagram, and you can see he has a little nick on his shin. That could have come at any point in the game. You can see there's a second one, but that's an older one, right? You can see that was like a scab got knocked off or something. That wasn't a fresh one, right? I'm playing detective here. Guy's hamming it up. He's absolutely hamming it up. He knows what happened. He knows he should have received the yellow card, if not a red. It's close. I would say this. It is closer to the defender should have gotten a straight red than Vitor should have gotten the yellow that he received. It's that absurd.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm almost certain that bloke is ex La Fabrica, the ex Real Madrid Academy. I'm pretty sure. So he would have enjoyed that one too. I think one of the biggest problems we're seeing at the moment, John, is Real Madrid are doing the classic bad guy thing, or what the bad guys do in history. And what I mean by that is that they have absolutely fooled everyone here. I try to think of a historical example to this, and there are a few, and I think they're a bit extreme, so I'm actually not going to use them in case I get, in trouble. But they're doing the thing where they're making themselves seem sane, and that actually they're the ones being prosecuted.
Oh, Real Madrid is gaslighting the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Negreira case is a brilliant example of that. We've seen cases of this, like in much more important matters in history in the past, where they go like, look at these lot, and then actually it's them, the ones who are the issue. I think their fans today were chanting corruption in the federation. I thought, yeah, I wonder who's corrupt.
Right.
You cheeky little that is incredible. That's like, that's like dark, That's like getting angry at something you're the problem with. That for me was like, damn. And you see their players like Ancelotti and stuff, and they're like, God, hey. I watched a bit of their game against Atleti today, and they feel like they're the ones being like harmed by the referees. I'm thinking like, you actually do not realize your history, do you?
Yeah.
Right throughout the 1900s, in this century as well, with the robberies in the Champions League that I watched growing up, all with huge refereeing favors, all of them. At that point, you just nip it in the bud and shut up. Like, if I know I've got lucky in something, I then just said, okay, I'm just going to leave it then. There, you can't get favors and then go like, start complaining against them. It's like, I don't get that. But they are the perfect example of doing just that. And maybe next week I'll come with a better example of what I mean by like someone who's on the wrong side of history and then they try to make themselves look like the victim. Yeah, it's gaslighting.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And it's frustrating to watch. Very frustrating to watch. Because it is to be accused as a Barcelona supporter, to watch your club be accused of bribing referees when you know that you've gotten the shit end of the stick for however many years now, and everyone immediately jumps to, oh, what about the Chelsea match? What about that? It was 15 years ago. It was 15 years ago. That's your best example of Barcelona getting any favoritism, was 15 years ago. And I said this before, but I will fight anybody who contests this. If you watch the full 90 minutes of both legs of Barcelona versus Chelsea, it was shit refereeing on both sides for 180 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So give me hard evidence, right? We've seen the comments. Negreira case, blah, 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 blah. Seen it. I'm over it. Read the facts, right? The judge has said even there's no evidence, right? It's not even speculative. There's no evidence of any foul play when it comes to the referees. They're only keeping the case open for tax purposes.
Exactly. Exactly. But imagine if that accusation was made against Real Madrid and the judge then said that, Real Madrid would be going, "Oh my God, we've been falsely prosecuted." You know, oh, honestly,
Terrible. Terrible.
I've had enough. I've had enough.
All right. Okay. We could stay on that all day. Let's shake that off. Let's shake that off. We did mention that we're going to start pulling in some comments from our listeners, right? One more shout out to everyone who's been participating in the conversation. We love the comments, the questions, giving us your thoughts. We do appreciate it. Keeps the engagement going, helps the channel grow. And we're going to shout out Harry for this one. He said, loving the podcast and seeing John Buga and Pablo do their great things. Appreciate you, Harry. And he also said, for me, I'd love to see Emmanuel from Sociedad as the next manager. He's a great manager, and I think he'd be good for our team. Keep up the great work, guys. My question would be, and this is where we're going to get maybe some debate going here, maybe some controversy. He said, if you all got to be Barcelona manager at the end of the season, what are 3 things that you're doing? And he said, much love. So much love back to you, Harry. Again, thanks for the comments. Everybody out there listening, get your comments in below on whatever platform you're on. Spotify, YouTube. If you're seeing these on clips on any of the platforms, of course, leave your comments down below. We'd love to keep the conversation going. But Pablo, you're hired. Barcelona's next manager. What are 3 things that you're changing, my guy?
Can you go first?
Oh shit. Okay. All right. All right. I'll go first. I've got 3 that I think are pretty reasonable, and I might hit you with a 4th just to take a big swing at something. Okay.
Okay. Go on. Yeah.
Let me start off easy. I'm easy into it. All right. Day 1. I'm gonna promote Hector Fort, Paul Kubarsi, and Gui to the first team. I'm bringing them up. I think they're ready. I know they're young. I know Buga's throwing things at the TV right now. Listen to this, because he's not super sold on the Dream Teams. But I think they're ready for the first team. I think we bring them up. I think if you look at our fullback situation, whether or not Dest comes back next year, I think Fort slides right in, and I don't think we need to go to the transfer market to fill that gap. Kubarsi, same thing. Gui, same thing. I think we need a little bit of depth in those positions. I think we're not going to get a better placement dollar for dollar than those 3. So I think we bring them up. My second change, I am going back to 4 midfielders. I'm going to have a healthy Gavi. I'm going to abandon the 4-3-3, and I'm going back to 4 in the midfield. But to do that successfully, the 3rd thing that I'm doing is I am selling Jules Koundé to fund the purchase of Zubimendi.
Ooh.
He's my pivot, and then I got Frankie, Pedri, Gavi on that left wing.
Ooh.
How am I doing?
To be fair, I like a lot of it. I do like a lot of it. I think I've definitely got an opening 2.
Okay.
Number 1 is quite similar to what you said. I don't think we actually need to be doing too much spending elsewhere this summer, but we do need to be spending on one position, and that is a central defensive midfielder, and that is Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad.
Yeah.
I mean, Harry mentioned about Imanol Alguacil, the coach. I think he's a good coach. I'm not sure he'll be the one who's picked, to be honest. He strikes me as a Valverde sort of appointment, but Zubimendi's the guy. He's the guy we need in that midfield. What would he cost? 60 million euros?
60 million is the buyout, and if you look at the timeline, the narrative of things, he's said before this season that he doesn't want to leave the club yet, that he wants to play this year. Their first year in Champions League, right? But next year, if you look at where Real is in the table, I don't think they're going to be back in Champions League. So there's
Mm,
not that sort of incentive there. I think it's a
yeah,
good time for him to walk away from that club. And 60 mil
yeah,
for what he's bringing, I think that's a steal.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the balance of the team, it's everything. It's a good point in the Champions League. I do worry maybe, say someone like a Flick comes in. I get the idea he'd have a different idea
You'd
to
want to go for like
what
a Kimmich or
Xavi's
something, right?
yeah, to what Xavi's idea was of bringing Zubimendi in. And I mean, to be fair, look, you're right, Zubimendi didn't join despite, I'm sure, several phone calls from Xavi, and those phone calls worked to get players from all around of Europe, like Koundé and Rafinha and Lewandowski and whatnot. But
Yeah.
um, Zubimendi stood very firm, so maybe he isn't the most keen player on joining Barcelona, but I think he's the one that would make all the difference. Um, I'm actually sort of going like against one of your points of my second point, and it was basically to try and not make a big sale just to get like the funds in or to clear the wage bill because
Okay.
I hear a lot of rumors on Araujo, on Christensen, De Jong, even Rafinha, Koundé I'd put in there as well. I will admit, by the way, I think Koundé's level is dropping
Mm-hmm.
worryingly, but out of those like five I've mentioned, who I think are sort of the ones Barca are looking at and thinking we could get a few funds here, I'd actually put quite a lot of emphasis on not losing them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I've said before, I think our squad is actually pretty damn good.
Sure.
I really do. I don't think it needs an awful amount of work. So as I said, I said get Zubimendi in, and then and then keep your big names enough, and that might be a bit contradictory because we might not be able to do that. We might
Well,
not be able to get Zubimendi in if we don't sell like a Jules Koundé, like you mentioned.
I was looking at how we would fund it, right?
Yeah,
And
I
if
know.
you look
Yeah,
at who we have out on loan right now, we could maybe, if everybody went for their value, we could maybe get up to close to 60 mil if we have a little bit of change on the side from something else. Because we're talking Dest, we're talking Langley, we're talking Torres, we're talking Eric Garcia
mm,
potentially, right? So
yeah,
you could get maybe 30 mil out of that
yeah,
bunch right there, and I know there's a handful of others. So let's say we get to like
yeah.
35 mil just with the folks that are currently loaned out, right? Now all of a sudden we only got to pay what, 25 mil? We can get that somewhere, right? We don't,
Mm,
I'm with you on that. We don't have to sell a big name. The reason why I would sell Kunde is because I'm with you on that. I think not just his form, but his commitment feels like it's dropping. His desire to
yeah,
be there seems to be
yeah,
dropping. He doesn't want to play right back. He's
yeah.
getting further and further down the depth chart in the center back position with Kubarsi coming up. So, and who knows if we don't sell Eric Garcia? I mean, Eric Garcia might be coming back to Barcelona as a La Liga champion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then
Well,
we're
we
gonna
have we yeah.
what are we gonna say? No, you're not. No, you're not good enough though. Sorry.
We know we have got a lot of centre backs, right? Inigo's there. I know he's quite injury prone. Christensen, Kubarsi,
Yeah,
Araujo. We have got depth in defence. I do agree with that. I
yeah.
suppose my third point would be touch up the rest of the team. I was going to make a tactical point, but I do think it depends on what manager that comes in. I mean, I'd sort of just say, get the structure back and get like a start of play back. I felt like we've lost it this season.
Yeah.
Get like a team that's recognisable back, that has patterns of play and attack that I think we've lost like completely. Like our attack is just get it wide and cross. That I think that's what I'd say to the new coach, get that back. So I think that's a sort of another point. We're sort of going over three here. But touch at the rest of the team. And what I mean by that is left wing that needs to be thought about. Do you
Yeah.
spend money there? If you can't, is that Ansu Fati then who comes back in to help? Or can you get João Felix on another loan? Right back, I think João Cancelo needs to be bought permanently. That's a bit of cash that needs to be spent again. Or does Mendes sanction another loan? He could.
Yeah.
And then a sub goalkeeper as well. We cannot have this again, where Ter Stegen goes out and we have Iñaki, but I'm not having it again. We need like a citizen sort of player, a Neto sort of player back in goal and, as number two, because it's just toss the season away if not.
Yeah. 100%. I think people who don't watch match in and match out maybe are overlooking how that's really been maybe the biggest factor in Barcelona's lack of success. I know we've talked about how Barcelona haven't finished their open chances, the number of times they've hit the woodwork, all those things, but we've been leaking goals, right?
Hmm.
And it was also happening while Ter Stegen was between the posts, but
Yeah.
I feel 100% confident that if Ter Stegen didn't go down injured, we would have found our form. We would have settled things down. I know, back to João Cancelo, I think starting the season out with Balde, Cancelo, and whatever center back pairings we had, and giving up goals, I think João Cancelo took a lot of heat for that, and Xavi took a lot of heat saying we couldn't have it balanced and this and that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was going to take a little bit more time. So I'm with you on. I think we buy João Cancelo, and so if we're buying Zubamendi and we're buying João Cancelo, we probably
Yeah.
need about 100 mil.
Yeah. I know. I know.
So
And then
I'm
if you want to touch up a few other areas, I mean, people on Twitter, by the way, still scream that left wing is the most important position to buy. You say otherwise, we change the midfield four, and that obviously sort of gets rid of that issue. But I get where they're coming from in terms. Sometimes I watch us in attack, and I'm like, man, if we had a left winger, like if we had Neymar to pass the ball to now, when we used to give the ball to him on the left, then it was like, damn, threat coming from all angles. Now it's sort of like get it to the right wing and whip it in.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that is going to have to be a decision. So
Yeah.
okay, let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say we're not buying Zubamendi. Let's
Yeah.
say we're not buying Cancelo. Let's say Kunde
Mm.
has a change of heart. He says, you know what? Actually, I love this right back position. I'm gonna hang out for a little bit. All right. So if we're gonna sell, I think we'd still have to sell Kunde. So how about that with Garcia coming back, with Kubarsi coming in? For me, either Kunde or Christensen are gonna get sold.
Yeah, that's what
And I would say
I'd want to
probably
avoid that personally.
probably and Garcia. I could see our center backs being
Yeah.
Araujo, Christensen, Kubarsi, Inigo Martinez.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's very possible that those are our four center backs, and we sell
Yeah. Yeah.
Kunde and
Yeah.
Garcia when he comes back in.
Yeah. Or Kunde say, watch out for Araujo, by the way, with
I
Bayern.
would be
Watch
I would
out.
be so heartbroken. I would be
I
so
know.
heartbroken. Um, I love Araujo. He's my Uruguayan Virgil van Dijk. I want him to stay. I would be pretty heartbroken if he left.
Yeah.
Who would be the biggest disappointment if Barcelona sold them?
Yeah. Out of those three centre backs, it'd be Araujo.
Yeah, same,
Yeah,
same.
I agree. Yeah.
I like Christensen. I'm pulling for Christensen. Kunde for some reason I don't. And maybe it's because of how many times we played him with a Sevilla kit on. I don't have such strong feels for Kunde. He
Yeah.
feels a little bit more like a mercenary.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. I feel you on that. I do hear
He's
you.
not
Yeah.
João Cancelo, making out with a badge at every chance he gets.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if everybody had João Cancelo's passion, I do want to buy João Cancelo.
Hmm.
And because guy can ball flat out.
He's a quality player. He's so good, and you're right. He's clearly got a lot of love and heart for the club as well. So yeah, I'm behind Joel Cancelo definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, I was getting away from my question. All right, let's pretend like we have money to spend on the left
Hmm.
wing.
Mm.
Who are you looking at? Who's available?
Yeah,
Who are you buying?
yeah, exactly. That's the question.
I got one
I
name, but
mean,
it's a bit of a long shot.
go on.
So Klopp's leaving Liverpool, right? New manager coming in, maybe things get shaken up. Who knows? Who knows? Darwin Núñez for me.
Oh wow.
That was one that I after Barcelona played Benfica in the
Yeah.
Champions League, and Darwin was on that team. I was looking at him like, ooh, I want that man at the club. And then
Mm.
season later he goes to Liverpool. It just there's no connection, there's no speculation, there's no nothing. But if we had money to spend, we were shopping around a little bit. I think we could do a lot worse than a Darwin Núñez.
He's an odd player. He's a very odd player. I mean, what then you play him off the left though. You sort of then have the inversion on the left though, because obviously he's sort of like a left forward, isn't he, in a way?
Mm-hmm.
So again, he wouldn't be a natural left winger. We'd have to take that into consideration. He gets an awful lot of chances. One of the biggest like chance generators, if you like. He's always in the positions, but
Yeah.
definitely, bit erratic in front of goal, I find.
Yeah, well, that is true. That is definitely true. But if we have Lamine, if we have Darwin, both of them will cut in and be a little bit more inverted. You have
Yeah.
Cancelo, you have Balde. And for
Yeah.
folks that are saying that you can't play with two attacking fullbacks like that, go watch Jordi Alba and Danny Alves. And then you come back and we'll have this conversation. Okay? If Barcelona can win with Jordi on the left and Danny on the right, get real. We can play with two attacking fullbacks. That's not the issue. That's not the problem. Right? You can't play with two attacking fullbacks and a leaky midfield.
Yeah.
Sure, can't do
Yeah. Yeah.
that,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? But I digress. So
Mm.
limited options on the left wing, I would say.
Yeah.
So
There are.
I
There are.
don't.
Yeah.
I think with Ansu coming back, with the possibility to go with four in the midfield,
Yeah.
I just don't think we spend on the left
Mm.
wing. I think
I
we end up
agree.
buying João Cancelo. I think we end
Hmm.
up buying a defensive midfielder,
Hmm.
and I think that's going to be it.
Yeah. And then a sub keeper.
Subkeeper. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's all it needs to be. It's whether it will even be able to be that, but I feel like they'll do more than that actually, because then the new manager will have his favorites. He might let go of someone and bring someone else in. There'll be more than three additions, is all I'm going to say, in my opinion.
I know
I,
one
I
man
don't
who's
think
not
that.
going to be at the club is Roberto. There's no
Yeah,
way the
yeah.
incoming manager, unless it's Rafa Marquez. Actually, let me just back it up. And actually, I'm glad I brought that up because I think the next manager is going to be Rafa Marquez.
Oh wow, really? Why?
I do. I when is the next elections for president? Is it at the end of 2024 or is it the following spring?
How often is it at Barca?
I want to say it's sometime in the next year or 18 months, something like that.
Well, when did we have the last ones? It was March 2021. No, was when Laporta came in.
So
I mean,
March
we've
20
only had, we've only had 3 years. It's not every 4 years, is it? It's 5 or 6. I thought.
is it? Okay.
I thought.
Yeah, okay, well if that's the case then my theory's off cuz I was thinking that it was sooner than that, in which case for campaign wise it would make
Mm.
sense to bring in a Rafa now just so you can have that big name manager come in right before the election, right? As opposed to hiring the big name manager now, having that fall flat, and then you're like, oh well, shit, what am I gonna do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know. I'm nervous.
Yeah, we do need to
I don't
get
know.
the
Go
we
ahead.
need to get the managerial appointment right. Obviously, it's
Yeah,
all the talk of names has sort of died down in the last week. Weirdly, maybe for the best. I've heard like
yeah.
Sergio Coencenciao, is it from Porto? That'll be a disgraceful appointment. I mean, we need to forget about names like him and Rafa Marquez and Thiago Motta and get a proper grip here.
Yeah,
We need a serial winner, a top tactician, and there are people out there if we're willing to wait. So
yeah.
wait,
If Barcelona go with somebody like a Rafa Marquez, like a Thiago Motta, it's a sign that Laporta doesn't think this club is actually ready to take the next step. Those guys are just babysitters. That's all that they would be.
I think we're in a good enough position. I know financially it's difficult to tell a manager to come in and basically say, "Well, mate, you're not really going to be able to make any of your own signings. You know, you just have to make up with what you've got." But
Yeah,
it's a very good team. I know I keep saying it, but that is a very good team. Let's just think of like a hypothetical: to Stegen, Cancelo, Araujo, Christensen, Balde, Pedri, De Jong, Gundogan. You got Gavi in there too. You know, Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, Ferran Torres. Oh my, these are top players. That is a ready team. I was thinking about Chelsea, for example, today, and I think like, right, Pochettino's got to go in the summer, right? But say you offer the job to like a Nagelsmann or a Tuchel, they must be thinking like it's going to get to a point where like they don't want to take the job.
sure.
And why would they? Like, look at the mess of it. Even if you've got the unlimited funds, like the ownership from above, the current squad, they just must think like, why on earth would I want to walk into that and just tarnish my reputation? Barca, I get it's also a bit of a poison chalice, and you know Xavi's been slating how horrible the job is in the last weeks, but it is Barcelona 1 and 2. It's a very good team. It's a very good team.
I'm with you on that. It's a good team. We have a bright future. I haven't let go of that. We have a very bright
Yeah,
future.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
put uh, I'll put our 25 and under against anybody else's 25 and
yeah,
under any day of the week.
yeah.
And we still got some big names. And it's a for anyone out there who's, you know, particularly online talking about how Barcelona is not a big club anymore. Yeah, just look at the amount of hate that Barcelona gets. We are still a big club. We're very much a big club. So I'm not worried about that. I'm with you on it being a bright future. I think we may just have to ride out this season a bit. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
there
yeah,
may
yeah.
not be an exciting title race. We may flounder
No.
before we get to March and April. Um, Champions League might be a bust. You know, it's
Hmm.
possible. But even if all that happens, even if you know we don't make top two, if we get knocked out by Napoli and it's just a dud season, next year is going to be a good one for Barca. I'm already looking forward to it. I know it's not for 6 months, but I'm excited for the future of Barcelona.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. We still got the La Masia, of course, can't forget that. It's just even this season, look at the players that have come through, like even recently, Fort and Kubarsi or Gui and Lamin, it's just a joke.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be just fine. We'll be all right. All right. Anything else on your mind before we close things out?
I don't think so. Maybe, they will tell us to mention Gundogan playing higher up against Alaves. I suppose that was a positive.
I think.
So we'll quickly mention that. I suppose it works better with Christensen next to De Jong.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I do agree with that. I think we've had Gundogan sort of like almost in between the centre backs as like a dictator like Busquets
Yep.
with how prolific he was for City. That is a profiling error. And already higher up the pitch, gets a goal, gets an assist. He's so good in the final third. I mean, I've been a little skeptical about his performances this season. I think generally he's probably been one of the better performers, to be fair, I'll be fair, but
Sure.
his numbers are strong for a midfielder, very strong. For a midfielder who's been playing very deep this season, so massive credit to him.
Yeah.
And in the final third, he's a very prolific player. So more of that, because that's just going to help us. If we've been struggling for goals, get Gundogan forward. He's a scorer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that for sure. Maybe we'll pick up there next week when Buga's back. I know he was excited to talk about Gundogan and get his opinion in on that Vitor Roque sending off. So
Yeah.
we'll get Buga back. We'll be here with Pablo and myself again next week. Until then, one more time, like, subscribe, share, give a 5-star rating, all the things. Leave your comments down below, get your questions, get your opinions in. We'll keep the conversation going, and we will see you next week right here on Mas Que Un Podcast. See you, folks.
There you guys.